In 2016, Derek Andersen met Gilbert J. Peter while he was coaching their kids' flag football team. As they got to know each other, Andersen confided in Peter that his son had needed a follow-up surgery to correct a bone cyst in his femur. The condition wasn't serious or life-threatening, but was painful and needed to be seen to. Peter said he had connections at the University of Miami and offered to help Andersen's son any way he could. As Andersen and Peter got to know one another, Peter revealed that he was a venture capitalist. Andersen was clearly intrigued, and after a few months, Peter told him he had a great investment opportunity. With assurances that he would never risk Andersen's family, what kind of man would risk the finances of someone who's trying to pay for their kid's medical treatment? Peter presented an investment opportunity that was ready to pay out. The only catch was that Andersen was going to need to invest $150,000 and move quickly doing it. No time for research or consideration. Take the blue pill or the red pill, Neo. In or out. The investment was in My Doc Urgent Care, located in Garfield, New Jersey, in the same parking lot as a Walmart and an Applebee's. If that doesn't scream quality medical services, we don't know what does. You can get your cold checked, pick up an Instant Pot, and have some mozzarella sticks, all for about $30. Andersen knew that medical properties could be lucrative, so he gave Peter the $150,000. Less than a month later, Peter told Andersen that he had another spot for an equity investor and needed another $150,000 to buy equipment for the urgent care center. Understanding that this was a big ask, Peter told Andersen to put in just $100,000 and Peter would put in the additional $50,000. Peter personally guaranteed he would pay back the $100,000 in 30 days, plus he'd give an additional 1% equity in the company just for helping out. The only real problem with the whole deal was that Gilbert J. Peter Jr.'s apparent wealth and opulent lifestyle had been financed by investors like Derek Andersen, not Walmart parking lot medical offices. Gilbert J. Peter sold himself as your friend next door, a kind-looking 60-something-year-old man who's so humble and down-to-earth that it almost contradicts his mansion-living, huge party-throwing lifestyle. Peter is interested in sharing his wealth with you, and he'll happily tell you about how he acquired much of his wealth by saving all his money when he was younger and investing in it smartly. He's nice and seems like he genuinely wants to share his lifestyle with you. This was all part of his pitch, though. Like most con artists, Peter was selling his house and his parties as a dream that was attainable from whomever he was targeting. And he's looking for investors for his new product he's selling with Iron Mike Tyson. After a month went by and no repayment, Andersen reasonably started asking Peter what on earth was going on. Peter first responded with righteous indignation that his business practices were even being questioned. Then attempted the best I can do is a $12,000 check shtick, as if you were Rick Harrison and this was his pawn shop. After that, Andersen only paid in excuses. I need another week, or I need to sell some stock. Anything to delay payment. When the initial dividends had stopped coming, Andersen's father-in-law had been battling cancer, and Andersen badly needed the money to help. Peter repeatedly promised that the money was coming, that he'd never screw the family over, that his prayers were going out to Andersen's wife's family. Shockingly, the excuses helped the family about as much as the prayers did. Eventually, Andersen did receive a check for $84,000, and it promptly bounced. Peter then started begging Andersen, please keep this issue between the two of them, that he'd been in business for 30 years and this had never happened before, that he's so humiliated, his reputation could be ruined. Derek Andersen would seem to be a reasonable person. Like most reasonable people, he tended to accept Peter's reasonable excuses. That's until Peter started saying he needed more time to get more investors so Andersen could be paid out. Andersen started to realize what investors are most afraid of realizing. This was a Ponzi. A Ponzi scheme is a scam in which initial investors pay into an investment fund, in this case a medical office, and are then paid out initial inflated sums to lure other new investors with the promise of huge gains. Then rich friends go tell their rich friends. When it comes time to pay out, the scammer pays with the new investments. As long as new investors keep contributing money, the scam goes on. After much bickering and fighting over how the business was run, Peter offered to buy out Andersen shares at $175,000 via check sent through the mail. That check bounced too. Parkland, Florida resident Jenny Alfonso met Gilbert Peter through his second ex-wife, Lauren, when they both had children in the same preschool. Peter invited Alfonso and her kids to their mansion around the start of the school year for a big party with bounce houses, a cleaning crew, and tons of food and drinks. Through conversation, Peter had become aware that Alfonso was struggling with some medical costs related to her son's type 1 diabetes and had offered to help. He seemed so affable and charming that Alfonso was quickly drawn in, completely unaware that Peter has no soul. Peter's pitch to her was a rare opportunity to own 1% of a business called Dr. Doctor, located in Garfield, New Jersey, next to a Walmart and an Applebee's. Same building, different name. Alfonso worked in healthcare, so she knew that the 50 patients a day Peter claimed the clinic was seeing would make it easy to invest in. Clinics with only 20 patients a day did quite well, so 50 would be fantastic. Peter guaranteed an easy 24% return on investment, so Alfonso borrowed against her 401k and gave him $50,000. 12 months after her initial investment, Alfonso hadn't seen a single payment. When Alfonso asked about the payments after 3 months of waiting, Peter told her that the company issued dividends every 6 months because it was easier. 6 months went by, and an increasingly concerned Alfonso called Peter asking where her payment was. But Peter said that the company was now issuing yearly dividends instead. So Alfonso, tired of waiting, said she wanted out, but was told she could not get out. Peter said the only time they make an exception is when someone has cancer, so she'd have to wait while her money was kept in Ponzi jail. Alfonso even reminded Peter that she had borrowed against her 401k and needed the money to make the payments, and that she's got a sick kid that had medical bills she needed to pay. And just like that, Gilbert, the shameless excuse machine Peter, went to work with some really impressive excuses. He had kidney stones. You do need to be kidney stone free to make payments on things. Most people don't know that. He was in the hospital and the money was stolen by an office manager, and a bank merger had prevented him from returning the funds. Alfonso was stuck. As it turns out, My Doc was an actual business owned by Peter and was run by office manager Julia Marino. Marino was hired by Peter in 2017 and had worked tirelessly to build a business she believed to be authentic. Marino did everything from staffing to marketing and actually got the patients up to over 150 a day, making the business profitable. She had no idea what Peter was up to. Soon, Peter told her to open a limited liability company in Wyoming, a state where individuals' names are not required, because the LLC's activities wouldn't be traceable back to sneaky Peter. Then Peter was calling her twice daily, needing to know how much money was in the business account so it could be transferred into various shell companies he'd created. In 4 years, Peter had Marino transfer over $2 million into his companies, completely disregarding boring things like bills and rent. It wasn't too long before Peter began asking Marino to boost Medicare claims to increase his payouts, making Marino an accomplice in committing Medicare fraud. And when the investors began calling looking for their money, Marino was told to write a bunch of checks totaling over $1 million. In New Jersey, where Marino was working, writing a bad check for anything over $75,000 is a second-degree felony, which brought about a judgment against Marino. Peter said he'd take care of it, but for him, that meant doing nothing. During this time, Peter started asking Marino to hold off on collecting her salary, promising to pay her more after an insurance payment came through. Then he was boldly asking anyone and everyone to invest, including Marino's family members, insurance agents, and even wealthy-looking patients. Seriously, what a weird thing to happen to anyone at an urgent care clinic. Peter slithering from around the corner and saying, "Hey, I have an investment opportunity for you that we can discuss over some mozzarella sticks." For Julia Marino and My Doc, things were beginning to collapse. Aside from a federal case against Peter, there were several foreign cases totaling well over $100,000, unpaid rent threatening to shut the doors, and the taxes for My Doc were a total mess. No K-1s, an IRS tax form issued annually for an investment in a partnership, were ever even issued to investors, but Marino wasn't sure of who owned what anyway. In the meantime, Marino was providing relevant information to plaintiffs in a suit against Peter and the shady doctor John Anastasi. Once discovered, she was quickly terminated. One of Peter's favorite excuses for not returning funds to investors was to scapegoat Marino by accusing her of embezzling over $1 million, so I'm sure she was heartbroken by the termination. The branch lawsuit that Marino had aided alleged that Peter was regularly taking unauthorized personal withdrawals from My Doc's operating account for what appeared to be personal expenses unrelated to the business. The lawsuit, filed in New Jersey by Tate Branch and West Shields, resulted in a default judgment against My Doc and Peter for the amount of $1,180,000. $180,500 plus applicable interest. In 2012, Patricia Overton was conned by Gilbert Peter into investing over $200,000 in 4U Holdings Inc., where he was listed as the director. Peter's pitch to Overton described a nutritional supplement and a skincare product that was customized to each consumer's unique genetic profile, costing clients over $100 a month. Unbeknownst to Overton, the company was forced to drop misleading disease claims that their products could treat diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, insomnia, and other ailments, as this is a textbook case of false advertising. It seems Peter has a penchant for ripping off sick people. Overton got an attorney when she realized that her money wasn't being used for legitimate business purposes, but rather to fund Peter's lavish personal lifestyle in a clear-cut Ponzi scheme. Jenny Alfonso did a little background research, finding Peter's former LLC, 4U, had violated SEC rules and regulations, so she first filed with them. Then, on September 30th, 2021, she filed a suit with the Broward County Court. Julia Marino hired an attorney, and her civil judgment, the one Peter said he'd take care of, got tossed. Jenny Alfonso has since moved from Parkland, but remains in contact with other residents Peter swindled or attempted to. She hasn't received a single dime from her judgment. On May 16, 2021, Derek Andersen was awarded a default judgment totaling $137,833.40 plus interest at a rate of 4.31% per year until paid. As of right now, Andersen received some money, but not the amount owed. Peter, when contacted by Sharon Aaron Barron for local news magazine Parkland Talk, said that all his victims are getting paid back. Since he's got such a great track record with paying people back, he's probably going to. Except he attempted to file for bankruptcy in June of 2022, so he probably won't. However, he still insists that Julia Marino was embezzling and that the matter is under investigation. She probably is not. Gilbert J. Peter Jr. was arrested at his home in Parkland on July 26, 2022 for a crime by deception exceeding $10,000 and now awaits extradition to Kentucky to face charges. Peter claims he has serious health concerns from pneumonia and COVID and now has breathing complications. Sounds like he's down on his luck. I wonder if he'd be interested in an investment opportunity. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section whether or not you think scamming is a born trait or a learned trait.